Welcome to the enchanting world of the Never Cross a Witch Bitch podcast. Prepare to be captivated as we embark on a thrilling journey into the realm of spirituality with our remarkable team of a distinctive energy mixture. Leading the way is Mitch Garlington, a gifted gay male witch, touring stage medium, and psychic tarot card reader. With a background in the competitive corporate world and experience as a Cher impersonator, Mitch brings a fresh and unique perspective to our discussions. Next, we have Lucy Locke, a former fundamentalist Christian missionary turned sex shop manager turned professional dog groomer turned psychic medium, trance channeler, and tarot card reader. Her incredible transformation into the spiritual world is truly inspiring. And last, but certainly not least, we have Carly Batten, a second-generation practicing pagan, intuitive oracle card reader, and spiritual mother to many. Carly brings a grounded approach and simple understanding to the complexities of spiritual living. Together, we form an unstoppable podcast as we delve into all things spiritual and the journey of life. Our mission is crystal clear: to spread the message that spirit embraces all and that each of us is on a spiritual path, whether we realize it or not. So buckle up and get ready for an exhilarating adventure with the Never Cross a Witch Bitch podcast. Please note that all ideas discussed and presented in this podcast are the personal opinions of the individual podcasters and do not necessarily reflect the views of each other or the viewers. Hello, everyone. This is Lucy and
Mitch.
You forgot who you were then.
Don't worry.
Golly.
I think you guys are like, what the hell is she doing? We're from the Never Cross a Witch Bitch podcast, and we're on episode number 6.
It is 6.
Yeah, already.
So we were thinking of discussing fear around spirituality and how witches and tarot cards and different devices and tools that we use, there's a lot of fear attached to them out in normal society, and even maybe with people that are dabbling in it and wanting to go down the spiritual path. So yeah, that's our discussion today: the scary world of spiritualism.
And it is a world, isn't it? I think, though, do you know, really, it's only as scary as it goes back to intentions, really. You know, nothing is scary with divination. It's how everything's used, isn't it? You know, really, in a very quick nutshell. So this is our podcast, guys. We're done. We can wrap this up now.
Yeah, bye.
Yeah,
same time next week.
No, but it's like everything is interpretation. And, you know, with tarot, for instance, some people get so fearful if you say to somebody a certain card presents itself and shows up, and it's like, why is that so triggering for a person, isn't it? Really, it's the unknown, it's the misconception, because there's so much fakery around tarot, particularly, you know, like films, movies. They've dictated stuff to be so dark and sinful when it's not that at all, is it? Really?
It's the association, isn't it, with the darker energies. And that also goes in. Excuse me, just a minute. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat. No pun intended.
You're
probably.
A real witch. Not a real witch until you have a frog in your throat. Sorry. Sad.
When I start spewing them, you've got to worry about.
She didn't even listen to that.
Mitch.
God, seriously, that's for another show.
Oh dear.
We were trying to behave, but it's just not going to work, is it?
No, we're in a playful mood today, guys. I'm going to pre-warn you.
Yeah. But it's going to be one of them. It's going to be one of them shows. Hey.
Yeah.
I mean, I think tarot and like the darker energies, and like even symbols, you know, the 5-pointed star, you know, that got turned upside down for satanic reasons. And that all came around, I think, in the 1920s, 1930s, when the school of, you know, the whole satanic thing was, because this gentleman came up with the idea. I'll have to do some research. Apologies, I'm being a bit dumb. Basically, the five-pointed star was a good symbol, and he said, if I turn it around the other way, then it becomes a negative symbol. And then a
Yeah, I'm
lot of
not sure if that
people
was the
then
20s
adopted
or
that.
later on with
Or
Anton
was it the
LaVey. I'll have to look
50s?
it up. It might
Yes,
have been the
I think
60s with Anton LaVey, the writer of the
yeah.
Satanic Bible.
I think it was the
Yeah,
50s and the 60s. Yeah. That's it. You're right. Absolutely spot on. So the 20s, I think, was the Wiccan side of things. Sorry, brain. But I definitely think it's then all been associated. And like you say, Hollywood and the films have then taken tarot and then created this, it's a negative energy thing. So when you have people that I really want to read and really interested, but they've obviously seen the media and the films and all that. People do automatically think when you turn over a death card or you turn over the hanged man that it's automatically bad. I mean, I know when you do read tarot, there is a reversed, which is a slight, it's something you have to be aware of. But there's also the other thing I think people need to realize, that there is a reading etiquette, isn't there? That we've all spoken about. Yeah. Excuse me. So there is a reading etiquette where, as good, honest, truthful readers, you can't, or it's not, it's frowned upon to sit there and go, oh God, you're going to get in the car and this is going to happen, or that's going to happen on this date. There's an etiquette, isn't there? You can flag up warnings and you can say, just be aware of this energy around you, that energy around you, but you can't sit there and go, this is going to happen, that is going to happen, and it's all doom and gloom. There's definitely an etiquette, and I think people need to be, like, people that are coming and having readings need to be aware that good readers aren't going to sit there and start telling you that it's all doom and gloom and life is going to end.
Tarot was initially, like, tarot's thousands of years old. It is very, very old. And it actually started in a couple of different countries. So it's not even like it started somewhere and then bloomed. I think it started in like Italy. There's like Italian tarot. And please forgive me, there's another place. And I know China did some stuff too. Their astrology and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And the thing with tarot, it was invented and created for enlightenment. It was not invented to do fortune telling, if that makes sense. So the original tarot, which are the cards that we see today, the titles and stuff, were for enlightenment. So when I read, it is more for enlightenment. Sometimes some divination comes through, maybe with like, well, sometimes it comes through, but it's never anything ever bad, if that makes sense. I don't get bad things for people. I might get that their energy is not in a great place, but if spirit shows me through the cards their energy is not in a great place, so that some scary cards might come up. Does that make sense? Usually that resonates with the person, that they're not in a great place, and that's spirit showing them, I see you, I love you. Does that make sense? And then there's that breakthrough of them feeling seen, and they're enlightened that life can get better. If that makes sense. So that's what tarot is for me.
Yeah, I always see tarot as a roadmap. And I always actually think with the cards, they're not positive or negative. I think it's a neutral energy, and it's how you use them, as a reader, but as a receiver as well, into what they give you, what the guidance gives. Because free will plays 100%. A huge part for all of us, doesn't it? So a spread could be shown, but if you don't get up from the sofa, none of that's going to come into fruition either way, whether it's good or bad.
Exactly. Exactly. And it depends what the person's coming with. Some people come with specific questions, right?
Yeah.
So then the cards will have meanings to those specific questions. Also, where they lie in the spread. So I've had very, very positive cards lie in a more negative area of the spread, but it's to enlighten the person. So let's say the Three of Hearts, which is the Two of Cups. I don't know why I'm saying Three of Hearts. Two of Cups, which is a very nice card. The Three of Cups is a really nice card. 10 of Cups might lie in their fear category. Right? And so to me, that would show me that that person, even though that's like a really good card in the deck, if it lies in the fear category in the spread that I use, it could lie, it's called hopes and fears. This particular category in the spread is that something they're hoping for, but they also fear at the same time. And it could show me that that person is wounded in some way there, and they're afraid of intimacy, they're afraid of getting involved with people, that kind of thing. And
Yeah,
and that can
definitely.
free
I get
that
that a
person
lot with
because they see seed. Yeah, sorry, go for it, Mitch.
that a lot with the lovers card. So like when the lovers card, I think, oh, okay, lovers, really good, whether it's self-love or love to others. And people are so scared of opening up their heart sometimes. So even though it's a reasonably good card, people get really fearful of that actually.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so every card has their positive and negatives. If it depends on the spread, it depends on the person's energy sitting in front of you.
Yeah,
It's so
the
dependent
attitude
on
as
so many
well.
things.
Yeah.
And like when I
Yeah.
read tarot, I ask spirit, like I want to be at the highest vibration I possibly can be in myself, where I'm at in the moment. Because I want that person to walk away from their tarot reading feeling absolutely blessed and freedom in some way inside of them and actually closer to spirit. That's the whole purpose of tarot for me, is that they be seen by spirit, that they know that there's something bigger than them out there that they can lean on, and that they're loved
Mm.
totally unconditionally by this universal force, that they can open their heart and start to heal and start to live a broader life, because that's what it is. A lot of the tarot reads are like people bogged down by daily life and relationship struggles, and which is normal, but it's seeing that bigger perspective on things.
Yeah, it's giving people those stepping stones to reinvest back in themselves. Because a lot of people
Mm.
that I find when they come for readings, it's like they've almost turned themselves off. And it's like I find tarot, it's almost that jump lead sort of trip switch sort of thing, isn't it? It kind of reboots their energy almost, which
That's a
can
good
do.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. What's your thoughts, Carly, on it all?
Apart from a frog. Well, I mean, I as an oracle card reader, a ribbit. But apart from as an oracle card reader rather than a tarot reader, I will be honest. I think we spoke about this when we were talking about tarot and beyond. I find it daunting only because of the fact that obviously, some people work in spreads. So I mean, that's another thing I sort of want to say. You've got to work how you feel comfortable working. You don't have to do all the big spreads and bits and pieces, but it's patient with me, which I find really difficult. So learning tarot, learning the minor arcana with all the suits, and learning the meanings of those, and then also learning the ones. I found it really overwhelming. So me looking at tarot, I tend to go a bit, and it's not because of the cards. It's not because of like turning over and you've got the hangman card or the devil or death or something. It's because of the enormity of it. So that I find hard to digest. But if you use just the major arcana, I think it works really well because it enables you to have a smaller amount of cards and then actually read them intuitively rather than reading them as they should be read. Do you understand what I mean?
I love how she's going into her sales pitch with her deck here. She's opened up.
I wasn't actually.
Show us the cards. She's got some beautiful cards, and they're very, very old cards. So come on, show us the cards.
I wasn't actually. I was going to say about Mitch's Rocker Horror Show ones, but the tribute ones.
Do a cheeky plug. Come on, this is a perfect lineup.
Or I could talk about Mitch's Guided Pause Tarot deck.
Guided Pause Tarot deck.
Which I'm going to put a selfish plug in there. Both my dogs are in this deck.
Are featured, aren't they? They are.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
My Ben's in there as well. Spud's in there too.
Yeah, and my little Oscar's in there.
And Oscar's in there.
Yeah, your dog. I actually have your little Oscar right here.
Oh, bless him.
There he is.
Satan himself.
I think that is a good pictation of him for that card.
I love your dog.
Especially the sideways glance. He's got that terrier glance. It's a bit like... But you know what's really nice? Actually, having that deck, having the Dog Paws Tarot, I know you did it for the charity of where you go and walk Oski in the field. So, all available on Mitch's webpage. but that actually lightens it up a little bit, so the seriousness of tarot, I know, it's an important job reading tarot, but the seriousness or scariness of pulling over a devil card, where most people, I'm going to show the Bardware ones now. That's a little bit, there we go.
Oh,
So
I
the
just love the
people
drawings
watch
on
it.
those. I just,
So obviously these were drawn in the 70s. So everything is a bit booby, as it was in the 70s.
that's
We
why I
love
like it.
Yeah.
Big boobies,
So there's
bit booby and
boobies.
penisy. I have a number of decks
Yeah.
from the 70s that they're all boobies and pubic hair. They like their pubic hair back then. Sorry.
Yeah, it's more boobies than penisy. There's no penises actually.
that was the penis. That's what I'm waiting for.
No, there isn't any. It's all boobs.
when Mitch is reading tarot, he's like, "Come on, penis card. Come on, penis card."
No, there isn't any. That's a shame. But yeah, I mean, it's the devil card is very typical devil figure with the couple chained underneath, so having Mitch's cards with the doggies look, little Oscar with his horns and his devilish little look makes it slightly makes it more light-hearted, what's the word, easier to digest and not so scary for the reading.
It's a tongue-in-cheek deck, isn't it, sort of thing, really?
Yeah, but it lightens it up, doesn't it? It's really nice. I mean, any cards that you read, as far as the tarot cards go, I mean, any cards that you read for the higher good anyway. I just find them my glitch is my personal thing, that it's the capacity and the enormity of the amount of the deck and remembering what they all mean and the spreads. That's where I have my hitch, which is why I read the oracle cards, or I feel I read the oracle cards better. But the more I've read, the more I look at actually the own Bardware tarot and go, actually, I could probably read these now. But that's a confidence thing, isn't it? It all relates.
But also, that's like a pressure that you're putting on yourself, because really, when you strip the cards back to basics, I always think if you're struggling with a card, look at it in your own world. Where would it sit? Where would it be for you in your everyday life? And when you kind of make it relatable, it's really easy to sort of actually see, oh, I get it. I understand why that's kind of kicking in now, sort of thing, usually.
Yeah.
With tarot, it should resonate for the client. So the client is really in control. Does that make sense? So if you're sitting there and you're getting your tarot cards read and you're feeling nervous and scared, and quote unquote, let's say, the devil, death is a scary one for people. So I've got death in my scary deck, which I love this deck because I believe that there's all dark and light to everything, right? So you got death, and it's a bit scary. The colors are a bit nerve-wracking.
What's this deck we're looking at now?
I have no idea. I am really sorry. I will figure it out and put it in the bottom. But yeah, I've got. Anyway, so like I use this one. It's a kind of a shadowy deck. It shows dark and light, that kind of thing. So death. Yeah. Death is like, it's, if you look at it, it doesn't. No one should be telling you you're going to die or someone you know is going to die. Sometimes people will come to you, like I had it once with a lady where her mom, she was living she's from Australia. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into it. But her mom was passing away and was on like palliative care, okay? Like it was inevitable. The mom was terminally ill. She wasn't going to get better.
So she was asking,
just because of circumstances that were going on where she was here and her home life, and she was taking care of her mom, but she still had her family over across the world that she needed to go back to. So she wanted to know an idea, and an idea came, and it did pass. It did happen in fruition that person did pass in that time. But that is a knowing of death. No one should, ethically, it shouldn't be told to you, grandma's going to die in 2 months and grandma's perfectly fine right now. Does that make sense? Because that will put a lot of fear in someone. It's ethically just morally wrong, I feel. But death is part of life. So when you get the death card, it usually means something is coming to an end for something else to grow. So like whatever it is come to an end. It's decaying, it's gone, but it's like turning around. So new things, like when we die, we feed the earth. When things die, they feed the earth so newness can come up. And that's how I look at it, is that
Yeah.
that newness will come up out of that. So it just means something, a cycle in your life is passing, and it might be passing slowly, right? And then the tower to me is something that's quick. Boom. And you're shook up. And the tower to me is actually I've had many tower moments in my life. Okay, many. And at the time, you don't like them. But then when you look back, you go, thank God. Right? So
Yeah,
like to me, a
absolutely.
tower moment could be someone breaking up with me, a relationship where out of the blue, you find out they're cheating or they've broken up, and I've had that numerous times, and you're devastated and life is horrible. But then you look back and you've gone on and you've gone on with life and healing's happening. You look back and you go, thank fuck I'm not with that guy. Fucking hell. What if I left? And like that spirit getting rid of that person out of your life. And it might not be nice, but then you got the devil card to me, which is that codependence. And I've had many devil moments where I'm very codependent on someone, or I'm sexually this past relationships where it's maybe based on sex and it's not based on any kind of like deep emotions, but I'm unhealed and they're unhealed and we're not good for each other. And then you have a tower moment where that splits up. Can you see where the cards are? But then you look back and you've got the sun, let's say, where you go, oh, thank God I'm out of that. And the cards just read off each other. And the cards represent what happens to us in life, all of us in life, and the cycles of life and the energies of those cycles. So to me, they're just massive healing tools.
Definitely. Absolutely. And I think it's nice when you can see something that's happening in your world in a card and you can think, oh shit, it's not just in my head, this is actually happening. It becomes really relatable, and it kind of makes it all that little bit more real. It's interesting what you were saying, heritage or the history of tarot, because there is recorded in sort of Egyptianology, like not the same deck that we use now, but the Egyptians had their own system and setup of something similar to tarot back then. So I think it's probably really as old as the dawn of time in some format, not the same way that we're using it now, but a version of that existed back
maybe on
then.
stone, like the Flintstones. Maybe the Flintstones had like little tarot. Well, witches' ruins. Let's go to witches' ruins.
Yeah,
exactly.
I did say runes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know a lot about witches'
staves.
ruins, but they're along that same line of tarot of giving energy reads and stuff like that, aren't they? And what's going on in the energy field.
Exactly.
But seers used to use Viking seers, and we used to use bones. You pick up like playing.
Natives used
Jack
bones.
Straws.
Yeah.
Natives
bones used to use
and
bones
you pick
too.
out
They
bones,
still do.
and there'll be and just a tool to enable the person that you're connecting with, or what energy you're connecting with, whether it's the weather or there's something going on, because obviously native people would connect with everything. It's not, they're not all in a hall when people come to them and have a read. It's a different setup, so they might be looking, there's a storm coming, but it's a connection tool to be able to connect, to bring in that energy into what you're reading, the tool, to then be able to transport that information, or transcribe that information that you're being given. Because I remember, I'm going to slightly go off down a rabbit hole once, but I was thinking about this the other day. We were all thinking about fairs and how long sort of Mitch's fairs have been going at Westbury and things like that. And I remember one of the first fairs I did for a lady called Lynn Stone in Chippenham, or did with a lady called Lynn Stone with the Bardwell stall. I remember watching a lady behind me doing readings, and she literally just held the hands of the person, not palm reading, but just held the hands of the person she was reading for. And I remember looking around and going, we can all do that. We don't need cards and stuff. But we do that to because of our lives being so busy, and it's a different way. It makes a stronger connection for us as readers.
Well, I'll tell you why I like cards. I love the feel of cards in my hands.
Yeah.
I like the feel of different textures of cards. So like I'm quite picky about like my like wobbliness. But how they feel in my hands. I love shuffling. I've shuffled since I was a kid. Do you know what I'm saying? So that is, I used to sit and watch TV and practice shuffling. I love shuffling. So to me, it kind of combines all my elements of things tactically that I like, if that makes sense. And so my intuition can work through that. So it's a tool.
Yeah. So
it is a tool.
Yeah, exactly. It's a tool. So the person the readee who you're reading for, the sitter's sat there putting their energy into the cards. You're then, picking up and being fed stuff and the energy and stuff from the cards that you've got in front of you. And it's a tool. It's like using a hammer for a job or a saw for a job. But I always remember turning around and looking at that lady and thinking, crikey, we've all got this ability. And we can all do it without tools. It's just how you feel comfortable working, isn't it? And what you're doing. And it really sort of made me think. But obviously we're talking about the tarot and things. But as I say, they used to use bones. They are a tool. So if anybody is ever worried about if they turn around and look at a spread and they've got death and justice and devil, don't ever worry about it. It's not like we're talking about. It's not the be all and end all of it's a bad one. It's it's something completely different, and it actually is a positive thing. I was having a thought pattern actually listening to you, Lucy. You guys ever what's the worst reaction? What's the card that's had the worst reaction when you turn it over on the spread? We're talking the ones that from like the Hangman, the Devil, Justice, Death. What's the one that's always turned over?
I think
people turn over and you see that moment of from somebody who sat in front of you. Is it Devil
Death
and Death?
Devil. Yeah, for me. Yeah.
I don't know. I think for me, it's some of the sword cards in the minor.
Yeah, Ten of Swords can look pretty vile.
Yeah,
in some decks.
Swords.
Yeah.
Three of Swords is very scary for some people. Like you say, Swords, because people see that and they think, oh my God, what does this sort of represent? Because it looks quite gruesome and everything. But
So what does the Ten of Swords represent then? So diagnosing it, what does the Ten of Swords represent?
Well, Ten of Swords can
depends
be
what the person is. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends what's going on. I mean, it can be in some situations a betrayal, a backstab energy. But if it showcases, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's it, it's over. It's just highlighting a moment in a client's journey. And depending what comes with it, determines obviously where the story goes. Because really, tarot is storytelling, isn't it? In a sense, in a way, So when we look at this card on its own, it could mean so many things. It could be like someone, because swords represent our mental thoughts and feelings. It could be someone's in quite a depressed state at this immediate moment in time whilst we're connecting with them. But again, what comes up with it determines where the energy goes. And I think what's cool with tarot is even if this shows up, it doesn't mean it's your final destination. It's just a snapshot of the energy at this moment in time, because free will.
Can you hold that card up for a second again?
Yeah.
Now, is his finger, is that based on the Rider-Waite? Is it? So
yeah,
in the Rider-Waite, if you look at his hand at the side, it's in a symbol, right? And the symbol means blessing. I've stolen this off another tarot reader. So this is not my own, wow, I got enlightened or something. It was something I learned from someone else. So on the Ten of Swords, the finger symbol that he does laying there is a blessing symbol, which is the same symbol only one more time in the deck. The Hierophant's using it.
Ah, that's interesting.
So when you have the Ten of Swords, it's actually blessing. It's a blessing in disguise.
Skies. Oh, I'm gonna pick that now.
Oh, you steal it.
Another
Or
gem.
it changes the energy of it for people that it actually, you're going through this hard bit of life, but there is a higher meaning for it.
And there it is in the Hierophant.
Yeah.
Again, it's that.
Yeah.
But it's very. I mean, in the Bardware Tarot deck, it's my very kind friend who drew the deck. Hang on, I'm just trying to find it. Oh,
Oracle
look,
Pixie.
see.
Bardware Pixie. Is that who we're talking about?
The Bardware Pixie, yes. Where is it? It actually comes up as the Pope rather than
Pope Hierophant. I think it's like Pape or something in the. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so I learned that one
quite
off someone on
interesting.
YouTube.
It's that blessing sign, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's quite interesting.
We talk about stuff, the fear and everything like that. And okay, I think the fear really started in probably a bit before Aleister Crowley. I don't know if you guys know who Aleister Crowley is. He's like an occult person. Yeah. And he kind of went the dark side of of the spiritual world, because he came from such a strict Christian home, he almost wanted to experiment, and he went a little too dark, if that makes sense. Where he went a bit mad at times and had some stuff happen. He kind of started this fear movement a little bit within the spiritual world. And like, I think through the 60s and 70s, if you watch movies like Rosemary's Baby, okay, Ouija board. I was growing up. If you played with a Ouija board, you were going to end up possessed. You were going to be
Going to hell.
stabbing yourself with a cross upside down and throwing up. Your head's going to twist around and you're going to throw up green pea soup all over everyone, and you're going to be saying horrible swear words, and your face is going to be scarred, and you're going to be like flopping in the bed screaming and begging God to take you, that kind of thing. And it was, I still haven't really done Ouija. I did it once with a circle and stuff, and we really protected ourselves, but not out of a fear protection. It was just raising our vibration,
It's a
coming at
respect
it
as
from
well,
a
isn't it?
very respectful place to talk to the spirit world. Again, it's a tool, but in the not wrong hands. If people want to go down that dark route, they can with it. I don't want to go down there. I don't, that's not fear or anything like that. It's just, I like my life peaceful and easy, if that makes sense. So I'd rather go the higher vibrational route and have the perception,
Yeah, it's really interesting you're talking about Ouija's, because obviously I do a lot of witches seances, and we do the board, and I've had some beautiful validation come in for people from the Ouija board with not even me being on it, but just overseeing it, So like you're saying, it's absolutely a tool, and if it's used from a high vibrational space, you can get amazing evidence from a Ouija board. But it's all about the intention you're setting before, during, and after, to create that space. As long as you open up safely, you close down correctly, it's fine. It's when people go prodding stuff, and then when something happens, they get scared, so they take their hand off the glass, and you're in that sort of energy of not kind of being in control of where the board is going. That's when problems can happen, but it's a tool like anything, primarily. So that's really interesting you're bringing the Ouija up, because people get so fearful of it. And the reason
I
in
think
my
that's
book,
the number one fear. I think Ouija is like the
because
scary one.
I talk about Ouija in my Spirit Magic book, my practical guide to mediumship, and I actually say to people, don't use it. And it's not because I necessarily feel it's bad, it's because I think it's something you should be properly trained on, and so many people are not. They just take a punt and hope for the best, and that's why I don't encourage people to do it off their own back, but in a sort of safe space or in a safe circle. Absolutely explore it, see what happens, because you could have some amazing experiences. But really, when you think about it, what's a pendulum when you put it all back to basics? It's a Ouija board in your hand, really.
Yeah,
I
or
was
dosing rods.
I was literally
Yeah.
just thinking that. I sat there, I was thinking the amount of funny enough, it's something I've done as a kid. You sit there and dabbled with a child,
Same
well, a
with me.
teenager,
We
not
made
as a
one,
kid.
me and my neighbors.
Yeah.
As kids, we made a Ouija board. Yeah.
Yeah.
My husband was going to be Bo, B-O. When you're 9 and 10, you're like, who's my husband going to be? And it spelled out Bo. I'm not with a Bo. Never even met a Bo. There was a Bo on a soap opera, though, and I got really excited because I thought I was going to be with him, and I was like 9 years old. I'm like, oh, I'm going to marry Bo from The Young and the Restless.
Yeah. So I've done it as a teenager. That was done, and then, like you say, there's this. I'd love to be able to do it properly and have the raised vibration. But I was just thinking, as Mitch was literally just saying I was thinking, well, I used to have the same worry about using a pendulum years and years and years ago. I'd be like, oh, I'm going to use a pendulum. But it's exactly the same thing. So why have we, it's amazing how much Hollywood and fear
Christian
factor
world
has played.
The church. Yeah, because
has
like
played
it is
picking up and using a tool.
Yeah, you take movies from the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, and they were all, anything witchcraft was like really demonic and horrible things happen. You know what I'm saying? You got The Conjuring, so you got this doll that like somehow can like cause, they say it's based on a true story. This doll can cause like mayhem in people's homes and like, all this kind of thing. Like it is massively a fearful thing. And like, it is a tool. And like, so for instance, sorry, my brain went on a little bit of brain fart there. Minnie, my daughter, when she went to school, this new school she's at, I was asking them about the clubs that they had, right? And they said, "Oh, at a lunchtime we have the Dungeons and Dragons club." And I'm open, right? But I come from an era in the 80s where Dungeons and Dragons was a satanic game in our church. If you played it, you were like,
Oh, really?
there was
Oh, that sounds fun.
really?
I was thinking,
Oh,
sign me
oh
up.
my God,
Yeah,
Dungeons
yeah,
and
it's like
Dragons
Dungeons
was
and Dragons.
the most
Love Dungeons and
evil
Dragons.
game you could play as a Christian child. Like that, you're dabbling. You might as well
Really?
hold Satan's hand and say, "I'm going to hell with you, Satan," if you're playing Dungeons and
Oh
Dragons.
my
right?
God.
And I remember my brother-in-law who's been married to my sister for a number of years. He's a big Dungeons and Dragons guy, right? And I remember family members saying he's a warlock. I bet you they have orgies. Like it went to that type of thing. Okay, like
But
it
that's
went
really dangerous,
dark.
isn't it? How it can be so
It went dark when he just
misinterpreted.
likes to make up a character and play it. You know what I'm saying? Like I played it
Yeah.
as an adult with someone's child about 10 years ago, and I was like, this is
Is
fucking not
this
satanic at all. This is like I'm a pixie running through the forest and I'm casting spells and it was fun. I wasn't going to go into a school and shoot it up because I played Dungeons and Dragons. And that's the kind of thing they would say. You know, this causes
that's really
kids to go
scary,
into
isn't it?
schools and shoot it up. This causes they live in their own alternative universe where they think they have like and I look and like so I said to the teacher, "Wow, what a change from when I was a child because Dungeons and Dragons was like considered demonic." And she goes, "Same with me."
Yeah.
She goes, "No, the kids love it and it gets their imaginations going. It gets community with them.
Yeah.
Kids that normally wouldn't play with each other have these
Yep.
characters and they're living this fantasy game and it's a good lunchtime thing."
Yeah.
And I thought, how the world has changed and how stuff that like for instance, okay, I'm sorry, I'll end here. Astrology, right? Astrology, reading horoscopes considered evil where I come from, my background, right? You do not do that. You're dabbling with the devil. Who were the three wise men in the Bible that found
Exactly.
Jesus following
The
the star?
astrologers.
Following the star,
They
they are
were
the astrologers.
astrologists. But no one
Mm.
will say that. No one will say that. They followed the
No.
stars. The star told them way before Jesus was born. The constellations told them that this special child was going to be born, and they needed to follow this certain star. And they did. And they even prophesied. They even read the future. They brought special gifts: frankincense, incense. No, what is it?
Frankincense,
Gold.
incense,
Frankincense,
and myrrh.
gold, and myrrh.
Myrrh, yeah. And see, I should know that like that. But anyway, shows them how much I deconstructed. But anyway, yeah, and they showed up knowing this child was so special at this stable he was born in.
Mm.
And but we
Mm.
consider that like the Christian world would consider that
Mm.
not right.
Sounds a bit
not a good thing
far-fetched to
do.
me, the story and the
Oh,
the
it is.
aftermath.
It is. You know, it is totally. But to me, this is thousands of years ago. This story was written, and they brought in
Mm.
astrologers.
You know what I find really interesting in the whole sort of like about sort of, I don't know, 18 or 20 years I've been doing readings in all different formats. I don't think I've had anything scary or out of control. I think the scariest thing is actually humans. I think that is more scary than any tarot deck or any Ouija board I own. It's bloody humans, isn't it? And how they use their own ability for light or dark or right or wrong.
I've had scary moments where I had one time where I was reading for the person, and I knew this person, and this was kind of in my, I'm going to read for you fun days before I started really going kind of like out professionally. And I knew that he wasn't into readings, and he was like looking at the cards, and he looked up at me and just, I don't even think I knew this person, but the look in his eyes was not him, and that scared me.
Oh,
For
really?
just a second, where I just thought there's something.
And is that where you touched on something?
Yes, it was when I touched on something in his life. Does that make sense? And I knew this, whatever this is that's holding him, this devil card or whatever. And it's not possession, but there's something in his life that has a tie that was holding him that was like, don't you fucking go there.
Oh,
Kind
really?
of look. Yeah, and that scared me just for not scared, startled, because I wasn't expecting it. But I went on with the read, and he kind of took it, and actually the read was so beautiful, and his life ended up doing some of the things that said that he was going to do. He was freed up. A lot of health things freed him up that he figured out health-wise were going on in his life that freed him up, that he was able to live a better life and all this kind of stuff. So, I didn't read into his health, but you could see how the cards kind of that his life was going to get better. But yeah, but
Do you
that was a
think
human. That wasn't the cards.
Yeah.
Do you think, when people have Ouija board experiences, obviously a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but some people have had experiences and gone, oh, it's been really negative. Do you think it's because of they're sitting down with that fear, that nervous energy,
think
not fear, but that nervous energy, that
I
slightly
think you've got to.
apprehensive? Yeah, so they're
I
sitting
think
down with
sometimes
that, which is then
people bring it
creating
in. They bring their own
Yeah.
fear in, and it creates a physical experience that I don't think is the board. I think they've brought it to the table.
Yeah. Like I've never done one with Mitch, but I've said to Mitch, I would love to do one with you, Mitch. You know what I'm saying? Because I trust Mitch fully, but I would probably be
Feel
very
safe.
particular about who's sitting in the circle with me.
Yeah,
Does that make sense? That
Other
I would
people's
want
energy. Yeah.
I wouldn't join a seance with strangers or do something like that with strangers. I would do it with people that I knew had the best intentions at heart and wanted to hear from very high vibration. Does that make sense? Or there is people that use it as a tool to release people to the other side that maybe are stuck.
Yeah.
Or that kind of thing. And I have a woman I know, a friend, that she doesn't use she doesn't use the Ouija board, but she does that a lot. She gets inside of her, these spirits will say, like she can just see it. Does that make sense? They're stuck. And then she does she's been taught a prayer by the spirit world to kind of release them. And then some sort of evidence will come that actually was a person and they were, so that she knows she's on the right path of releasing these people into, and I don't quite understand it, but that's just because I'm not on that path in my journey doing that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I don't think she has negative spirits ever. They're more just stuck, if that makes sense. Or yeah.
And that could be like avoidance because they're maybe not wanting to move on with their next life plan, or there's something that happened in their physical world they haven't healed or got past, depending on what took place. Maybe, it could be loads of things.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Carly, have you ever had a situation with a spiritual tool that's unnerved you or made you feel fearful in any way?
Not that I can think of, because I've always gone in whatever I've picked up and used, I've always gone in with the higher vibration. I've always gone in for the higher good. I've always gone in for whoever, whether I'm reading for myself, not that I read for myself very often, but it's always, I've always had that, this is what I'm doing for the higher good. So I've never had anything that's made me go, oh, I don't like that. Sometimes you have a slightly negative, actually, without reading, I've had a negative energy, where you sit and you think, oh, I don't like you, but that's who they were as a person. It's not because, it's a negative experience. It's just like, when you do,
when
guys
you're talking
do
about a spirit or a
mediumship.
human being?
No, a spirit aside.
Human
so,
beings are the worst.
A human beings are
I've
the
had
worst.
that loads of, you don't know how many times a day.
So have I.
I'm
Like,
like,
oh, here we go.
You walk into, there's been certain situations, it's like, the area that I live in, there's certain bits and pieces, that there's a person who's, a spirit person, because that's so that, there's still a soul. They just haven't got the traveling device anymore, being a body. But they take their traits with them. And he's a little bit narky, not bad. He's just a miserable old sod. And, you just have to, that's the only time, and they make me jump. So there's the only time I've ever had like a real negative where I go, oh, for God's sake, don't do that. You'll walk past a certain bit and they'll be, you'll feel them there and you'll go, for God's sake, just, it's not funny. Go away. I don't need that today, So I haven't really actually using tools. I mean, I've not used a Ouija board enough. But I'll admit, I remember as a kid, which is why I was sort of said about, taking that nervous, apprehensive, scared energy. And I remember, 13, 14, feeling nervous and scared and waiting for tables to move and stuff to happen. But I remember taking that in, but I didn't have a bad experience. It wasn't like you're gonna, didn't spell out you're gonna die. It was just, hello, yes, I'm here. No, I don't want to talk. Goodbye. That's basically what they did, But it's like, oh, all right then. But you go in with that apprehension. And I've got better using pendulums, but that's practice. There's tuning your energy into the pendulums. I went through a stage where I'd pick up a pendulum and I'd get absolutely nothing. I'd sit there tuning it, wear it down your bra and all that, and get it in adjusted with you. And I'd sit there, steady hand, and it wouldn't move. And I'd be like willing it to move. I'd be going, please give me a yes, and it'd be going, no, bugger off. But I'm more confident and happy now. So I now get the spirit, and that's never worried me. It's never worried me, never to the point where I've gone and ran away. Even when I, as a kid, looking at the Bardware tarot cards, even then I'd look at death and the devil, and it never worried me. So it's never.
Yeah, I think probably because you were raised in that environment where it wasn't scary. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
No.
For the environment I was raised in, it was you were going to end up in some sex orgy with snakes and devil people, and it was
sounds quite fun to me.
Like, now it does, but when you're 14 years old, you're like, what? Like it just like, yeah. I remember in school, I joined the Christian. I went to a normal public school, right, in high school, but I went to the Christian club. And I didn't last long in the Christian club, even though I was a real strong Christian, okay? I hated the people in there. But anyway, I didn't feel like a bull. But they made us watch a movie. And this movie was about how heavy metal music was designed and created by Satan, right? And so they said this movie went into that Alice Cooper, Ozzy Osbourne, there was different ones. And you know how they can reach real high notes back in the 70s and 80s, that real high, like, and screaming kind of thing, that they were like tuning into some sort of devil, that like satanic. I think about it now, what stupidity it is. Do you know what I'm saying? They're just good singers. Like, but it was like that they could get those octaves, and then the ones that were like, like real, like, that kind of thing. This is an honest VHS copy of a tape they made us watch in the Christian club. Okay. How they would go into like a meditation to attract the demon inside of them, and this demon was doing these guttural things through them. And so like that, it was like ultimate of, you don't go there. So growing up, even kids that wore, like, I don't know if you had headbangers in this country, but where I come from, we had headbangers in the 80s. They wore the checkered jackets and usually had like a Metallica t-shirt on or something like that. Playing in the arcade games, playing arcade games was also satanic. Where growing up, if you went in that arcade studio, like Colin grew up in an arcade studio. He loves arcade. If you walked by there, you were either going to get kidnapped and they were going to find your head in a field and your body mutilated somewhere. You know what I'm saying? If you went in there, they really fucking scared you. And even now, if I walk past an arcade thing, there's this part of me, this tiny little part of me that goes, pedophiles, kidnappers, satanic, it's gonna be awful. Don't go in there.
When you're seeing like a little grabber come down to get a cuddly toy.
Yeah, I'm just like,
a little Pikachu.
Now that I'm out of it, it sounds so retarded, but it was so in us. Does that make sense? And put on us.
Yeah.
You were scared shitless. If I saw a kid in a heavy metal thing, and a mullet, that was like Colin's like brother, like he was the heavy metal mullet guy in the 80s. That would have been like really bad. I would not have been around him or gone near that person, because that would have been, they're a Satanist. They're into really dark shit. And you know what? They might have been, because the world made it that was dark, and that people, there was rebels that were attracted to that kind of thing. But I look at it now and I just go, what bull crap. Like, what
I mean, a lot of the 80s, a lot of the 80s stuff was like that. Black Sabbath, Metallica, AC/DC, they got a drummer, a skeleton drummer,
Yeah.
but it was their style. It's their style, isn't it? I mean, they would sing about death and Satan and,
I think it was
I
a
mean,
rebellion against the
heavy
Christian
metal's now changed.
establishment. I
Oh
do
yeah, yeah,
believe
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's conforming, isn't it? It's conforming to what is normal, but they're
Yeah.
expressing themselves. I mean, I love a bit of Black Sabbath, don't get me wrong.
Oh,
Or,
I think they're great artists now. Like I know Mitch
yeah,
is an Alice Cooper lover, and Minnie's dad,
I'm
he
a
was a
huge
massive
Alice
Alice
Cooper.
Cooper lover. He's an Alice Cooper lover too, and Alice Cooper is actually a really nice guy when you watch him in
yeah,
interviews as normal, whatever his name is, and he says it's a character.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a
yeah, yeah,
character. There
yeah,
is
No,
some music out there where if I listen to it, I feel a bit, you know, and
mm,
that might just be that it is a lower vibrational. It's not for me. And I listen to that. And like I listen to that inside of me and I go, nah, I'm not gonna, it's not for me.
mm,
But I have
mm,
listened to different
mm,
vibrations of music throughout my life, depending where I am in my life
mm,
too. So
mm,
for me, Evanescence, I can only listen to them now. But 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when that Bring Me Back to Life came out and all that kind of stuff, well, it's 20 years ago now. Yeah, 20 years ago. That album was huge for me because I was going through a horrible, horrible circumstance in my life. And it was actually a really healing album. I would listen to it over and over and over again because it kind of took me into this cathartic where I could cry state because almost
mm.
every song was kind of where I was at. Um, and but after I got out of that and started healing, I couldn't listen to that album for a long time because it would take me back into that state, if that makes sense. But
yeah.
Mm.
I can listen to it. I went into a store the other day and they were playing every song off of it and I was singing it and it didn't take me back to that state, if that makes
You
sense. It
wasn't
just,
triggered and by
I
it
wasn't
anymore.
triggered.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
But yeah,
mm.
like, so sorry, I'm going off. Go on, you guys. But yeah, it's all like, you remember the Rosemary's Baby and like all the kind of satanic scary movies of the 70s, 80s. I kind of like them now because they're really kind of niche,
Yeah.
or The Shining, that kind of thing where you're just going to end up wanting to hack your wife with an axe, because you're in a haunted hotel. That's bare, like,
Yeah. I can't watch scary movies.
well,
I
see,
Oh,
can't
I
do
okay.
like
it.
them once. I don't like gore, but I like a good
I
scary
like a
movie.
good murder.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do. There's certain degrees of it. I mean, I listen to, everybody sort of knows I do listen to a lot of audiobooks,
Hmm.
and I'm just recently listening to a lot of it. A lot of them at the minute are very Sarah J. Maas. So a lot of it's very dragons and the Fae and things like that, with a little bit of the kick-ass stuff. But the one I'm really started listening to at the minute is quite graphic gore. She's just cut somebody up in an alleyway, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I really want to listen to
Sounds
this.
See,
my
and
kind of
I,
lady.
I, I know
Yeah.
it's same with me. I'm like,
Bring
serial
it on.
killer.
I mean,
If I want
Yeah,
to
in all
love
relax,
all
I'd
that.
watch a good old serial killer documentary, a real good one, a
yeah,
longie, like an 8 episode one. I love. But I want,
yeah.
like
I
you,
mean, the
Mitch.
things
You
like
were
that
you were
I
wanting.
can watch.
If you weren't doing this job, you said that you would be like probably want to do photography of
Oh
death
yeah,
or
when I was
crime
young, I
scenes
used
and
to want to.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. When I was young, I really used to want to become like a crime scene photographer. That was a real passion of mine until spirit got in the way
Mm,
and everything.
mm.
Yeah, it doesn't
I
bother
mean,
me. I find it fascinating what humans are capable of doing. Actually,
mm,
Same with me.
mm.
Same with me. And I like I
Yeah,
would want you to be a
I find that
criminologist. Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I find that really interesting. I mean, I used to get told terribly by Mrs. Audrey Lady, stop analyzing. I'd like analyze stuff. I'd be like, it's simple things like she'd be poorly or something, and I'd go, well, have you done this? Have you done that? And I'd be looking at, some way to get a solution. And I love the psychology of people
Mm.
and how body language and how all that works. And I love, a bit of CSI. Oh, don't get me wrong. I love CSI, and that type of thing is, yeah, I'm quite happy with that. But when it comes to things like watching Scream, is it that thing with the horrible mask? I don't like watching Scream.
see, that just makes me laugh. Like, I
Oh
Yeah,
no,
don't
it just
find
freaks
it's more like stuff like
the
I don't do Hostel. So before I was like had Mini, oh, I watch really graphic horror, gory gore porn they call it. You know what I'm saying? Where it's just like it is gross, right? And I used to love
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But after I had Minnie, I think life became a bit of a reality for me. And I was like, it hit my body and my senses in a different way. But I do love documentaries about serial killers.
Yeah.
Does that make me a
Psychos.
dark
Yeah.
person? I actually, I'm
I mean,
sorry.
that's a little bit different, isn't it? That's like
Psychos.
true.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I do I like a good scary movie, if that makes sense. Like I love the movie The Shining and there's some gore in that, but not like it's not over
Mm.
the top where it's like Saw. I used to like Saw. Now I can't do it.
Mm.
I can't do it.
Mm.
You know, I can't. It just it hits my body wrong. But it I think does that make me a better person than the people that like Saw? No, I just think I'm in a different place than I was
Yeah,
Mm.
a
you
while
are in a
ago.
Mm.
different
Yeah.
vibration,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
what's interesting is like all of the different things we've been talking about, when we pull it back into the spiritual tools, nothing has really scared us. Humans have experiences in
Yeah.
other ways, but the spiritual tools, none of us have been scared, and we've all had completely different walks of life. So if the three of us can survive, I think any newcomers coming into it are going to be
Yeah.
Mm.
just fine,
Mm.
just fine.
Yeah.
Mm.
And like people
Mm.
wanting, I've had people where it said, oh, they go, you're a tarot card reader. And I said, yeah, you know, contact me if you ever want. I don't go to people and say, I've got something for you. I just don't do that. If someone wants to contact me and get a read, that's how I rock. You know what I'm saying? It's got to come from them. But I'll
Yeah.
say, if you ever want to read, oh, no, 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 no. I don't want to know about the future. I don't want to know when I'm going to die. And it's like, it's not like that at all. Like at all.
Mm.
And I think that
Mm.
shocks people because I think it's going to be like some dark room where I'm going, like my eyes are rolling back in my head. I'm like, you know, and calling down some sort of demon or whatever. Like trance. I do trance, okay? I love trance. And I know Mitch did trance for a couple of years and he found out it wasn't his thing or whatever, but I love trance, okay? I don't
Mm.
have just any willy-nilly spirit coming through me and like I'm not floating up and you know on my back or anything like that. But my voice can change a little bit. Does that make sense? And stuff. But I have the same guide and he is so like loving.
Mm.
All he wants to do is individually love up each person that he's talking to in a
Talking
very
to you.
intimate
Yeah.
way. Does that make sense? There's evidence
Mm.
behind it. He brings up evidence that they're like, oh my God, like, you know, I didn't know anyone would know that or whatever, you know, but
Mm.
he's so loving. And
Mm.
and that's why I find the evidential part and this and allowing this being, and I think he's very high vibrational, but he comes in as something that we can understand, if that makes sense, as a human.
Mm.
So he
Yeah.
comes in as something we can understand, but when he comes through, it's like there is nothing. Like when I first thought about doing trance, I'm like, oh my God, because you see the movies where they're like,
Mm.
Gal God is speaking, you know, that kind of thing, and everyone's like, you know, and the wind is blowing around and furniture is moving, and you know what I'm saying? Their eyes are rolled back in their head and their hair is going out
Mm.
like this and they're like up in the air. It's not what it is at all. It's actually very the true trance people, the people that are really every trance person that I know is a true trance person. It's been really love that has come
Mm.
through.
And there's a lot of
Philosophy and
trust there,
love.
isn't there? Mm.
That's what I like
There's a
about it.
lot of
It's this
trust.
trust building up. It's for me, it's a
Mm.
personal thing with my spirit guides. And I
Mm.
really, really love it. I look
Mm.
forward to stepping aside and seeing what they do, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
It's interesting you're mentioning trance as well, because like I did love trance itself, the actual discipline of what trance is. I just had a very dodgy circle in the sense of
Mm-hmm.
people weren't as genuine as they should have been. So for me, it sort of spoiled the experience. So again, it
Well,
goes
that's the
back
thing.
to humans, you know, the fear
Yeah,
is human, not the
manipulation.
actual
You can
physics.
manipulate and say, I my spirit guide, like, you know, come out as a spirit guide and you're telling people off. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
that's
And you're
what's
telling
happening.
people everything they're doing wrong in the world and stuff like that. And you're like, no, I don't believe that spirit. I really don't, because they would understand that we don't really know what we're doing here. So it would be the purpose of helping us rather than telling us off and making us feel
Mm.
even more
Exactly.
guilt for who we are
Mm.
as a human race. And I've had that where people in trance have come through and they're just saying how awful we are to the earth and awful to each other. And it's like, well, we already know that. We don't need the guilt. Like, If you're
Yeah.
a higher ascending
Mm.
being, it's like, how do we helping us? That's
How
more
do we
what they come
ascend?
through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Just to let you know, guys, we're nearly on the witching hour.
Holy shit, it goes fast,
Oh.
doesn't it?
It does go fast. I feel like we go on a little roller coaster, then all of a sudden
I
it's like it's
do.
over.
We're
It's
like,
even begun.
Yeah.
yes,
We
like
go in there, and then we're down that little turn, back on the track again, off we go, up, down, and then
Yeah,
we
you know
stop.
what-
And it's like,
exactly when Mitch goes the witching hour, you know how you come to that like your
You're like,
whole
"Ooh,
body.
ride is over. Sort of thing. Yeah.
oh, and then you start going
Oh.
backwards.
I'm
Oh
so
no, I don't like
chubby.
going backwards.
I'm so chubby. The bar just really impacts. I remember I went to in Canada. I went home. We have the world's largest indoor amusement park in my city, right? And so and we have also the world's largest in the same mall, the world's largest indoor water park too. But I took Minnie to this indoor amusement park, and you know the bars that they push down, like Minnie,
Yeah.
like the bar was like that far away from her body because I'm like sitting beside her, and they're like really reefing it down, and they're like, "Can you suck in your gut a bit more?" And I'm like, "Oh my god!" And they got it in there to click, but I was like, and Minnie was like, that far away from the bar, just flying around beside me, and I was just like, "Oh my god!" Like, and then when they came to the stop, I seriously thought it was going to cut me in half. I was like. So all the pictures, they take the pictures. Minnie's like, and I'm like look like I'm birthing something.
Oh.
Anyway, sorry, you guys. I love being
and there
with you guys.
our roller
It's so
coaster
much
stops.
fun. I wore my brown
dear.
pants that day. I wore my
God,
brown pants
honestly.
that day, just in case I shat myself. No one would notice.
And on that note,
On that note, I'm going to find the record stop button before there we go. Okay, I'll hover over it so that I'm not like lagging at the end, like before you guys are forced to.
Forced to smile.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
well,
honestly, you made
always
me
a pleasure,
cry.
guys.
It's always a pleasure. I hope
Always
you
a
guys
pleasure.
out here. I should say this at the beginning of the video. Please, on YouTube, if you could like and subscribe to our channel, it would mean the world to us because we're having so much fun doing this that we want it to reach more and more people. So if you're enjoying it, please recommend it to friends and stuff like that because we hope
I do
to
think
keep
it's
this
helping. Yeah, it does help people.
and we hope to keep this podcast going for a while. And if we do make it, we haven't made any money, okay? So don't even go thinking that. But we do have plans that if it does make money, we're going to invest it into better equipment and all that stuff to make it a little bit more smooth and slick for all of you guys out there. And,
That's rough and ready.
rough and ready. Well, we're rough and ready.
We're
right
rough
now,
and
but
ready. We're
yeah,
never
to say
smooth
rough
and
and
slick.
ready. Anyway,
Yeah, someone
that's another
someone put a
subject.
comment on saying, "Don't get too smooth and slick," and I'm like, "Well, you like us rough and ready, and we know what kind of woman you are."
We'll stay rough and ready.
Oh dear.
Anyway, lots of love and light. I didn't say that right. That sounded like I was taking a shit. Lots of love and light. Namaste.
Honestly, I don't know.
Uh,
Bye,
Bye
everybody.
from me.
see you soon, guys. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye for now.